Try that again. Good afternoon. I'm going to talk to you today about our federal debt. Many people don't want to believe this, but our country could seriously, potentially collapse due to our debt. American voters are very consistent. They always vote for more spending, less taxes, hence why our federal debt could have been prevented if we didn't spend as much as we do on all the different federal programs that we try to fund. I've read many articles on the federal debt. It's not like something I'm passionate about, but it's just expenses, those kind of things really pluck me and get to me. How much we spend and waste, and I don't think it's really necessary. To better understand this, we'll discuss the scope of the problem with our federal debt, suggest some solutions to deal with the threat of the federal deficit. Let's begin with the problem. And as you can see, the guy's cutting a hole out of the ceiling here. It's out of hand. The size of the deficit right now is about $14 trillion. And I don't know if you really know what a trillion is. I mean, that's like 1,000 million for every trillion. It's kind of hard to comprehend. This is a little while back. I mean, that's just, for each family in America, they would have to come up with $115,000. That's just nuts. I mean, business pays 35% of our taxes, so that's not really realistic, but that's a crazy number to think about. To finance our debt, we can print lots of money to take care of it, but that's just going to cause inflation. We can borrow the money from other countries such as China, but who really wants to do that? Put our hands in, let another country control us, and just, let's say our economy gets strong and they want us to pay all that back. I mean, that's not a good thing either. We're not going to be able to do that, so that's just going to put a drag on the economy. It's morally wrong to keep spending money now and expect our children to pay for it down the road. Like I said, it's hazardous to give foreign governments the tools to destroy our economy if they decide to call in those loans at the same time. Now, according to LiveScience.com, our economy, coupled with the mounting federal debt and expected cuts to science and technology, that kind of spending threatens to unseat us as the reigning superpower of the world. They're already saying that China is probably the superpower now, and we're starting to lose that because having that kind of debt, at some point we're going to have to start reducing that, which means military spending is going to have to come down. If we're not investing in high technology, then obviously we're going to lose our superpower status. Then there's the whole thing about our money being devalued. If we keep producing all this money, our money's going to be worth less and less and less, and nobody's really going to want to deal with our country. Also, according to IntelHub.com, investors this time will still be putting money into the stock market. So we are the stock market. They are getting money out of. They are getting money out of the stock market. But by this summer, if the U.S. government doesn't start to do something about our deficit, we could end up going into another recession, a worse one than we already had, if we don't start to do something about this. Also, the interest on the debt, nobody really ever takes that into consideration. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of money. Most people don't pay attention to the interest payments because the federal government makes it every year. Debt service has been manageable thanks to low interest rates. I mean, you've seen low interest rates on housing right now. You can pretty much get a house for nothing with low interest rates. So it's good right now, but the scary part is the Congressional Budget Office. The annual debt payments are currently about $200 billion right now, but by 2020, that's going to be about $916 billion, just the interest alone. So that's about 5 times what we're paying right now if we don't get a handle on it, get a hold of it. Another concern is elevated bank failures. As you can see, as you've heard, we bail out everybody, AIG, GM, banks. I mean, we can't just keep giving everybody money in banks and trying to just keep everything afloat. I mean, at some point you just got to say enough is enough, and just tell people that can't do it anymore. Let's see. Now that we've looked at the problem, let's see what we can actually do. A few proposals that can deal with the problem of the federal deficit, which will move us back to a sustainable path. We can stop the debt from growing by lowering the federal deficit back to zero. Now, we did do this back in 2000. I remember when Clinton was in office, we actually had a surplus, which was a positive thing. Now there is a thing called, well, according to cbo.gov, which is the Congressional Budget Office, a mechanism that if the President and Congress can't get a budget, can't figure it all out, this thing called the Graham-Rodman Holding Act, and which actually, what it is, it requires across-the-board cuts that the President and Congress did not reach agreements on set direct reduction goals. In effect, it supplied the backbone needed for control spending when backbone was lacking. So if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, this process goes into effect, and it actually helps out with the deficit. It actually gets things back going again. So you don't really need them to do this. So we can restore the deficit without them. Now the other thing, we've all heard about federal programs where they spend billions of dollars on things that like irritate us, like NASA or what have you. I love the space program, but what they spend on it, NASA, according to space.com, they spent roughly $18 billion just this year alone, just on projects. Now, we could spend half that money on useful science instead of including like research, different types of energy sources, medicines, unmanned space programs. There's all kinds of ways to save money. And then there's foreign aid. Sorry if I offend you. We spend billions and billions on that too. I watched a show on that one time. They had like a 15-second. There was a half-hour show. They had like a 15-second segment on each country give money to it. It's like billions of dollars to all these countries. Some of these countries, like he said, aren't even using it for the people. They're just spending it on whatever. And these people living in mud shacks. The king's living in a beautiful castle. It's just ridiculous. And that's not to say all countries do that, but there is a lot of ways. There really is. We spend $25 billion a year just on foreign aid. Now I mentioned NASA. The federal budget, only 1% of our federal budget is NASA, and 1% of our federal budget is foreign aid. Now people will say, well, it's only 1%. It's only $20 billion. It's not a big deal. Who cares? But 1% here, 1% there. I mean, it adds up. You just can't get saying, no, it's only 1%. Not a big deal. But you can see here all the different things that we actually spend money on. On defense, a stealth fighter costs $2 billion. Not millions, billions. I mean, how many of those do we need? I know we need good defense, but how many do we need? Now that we've looked at some of the solutions, let me tell you how we can take some actions. We need leaders in the House, the Senate, the White House who agree that it is time now, and the responsibility is ours. I propose that we not only restore Graham-Rodman's holdings, but that we dramatically cut federal programs and the federal budget deficit proposed by the President by more than half. Will that ever happen? I doubt it, but not with a Democrat in office. We not only can achieve this, but it is feasible. I've already sent you, each of you links on Blackboard in your email, letting you know who your representatives are, your senators, just letting them know that you would like them to start taking care of our federal deficit, make that a priority, bring that down. I feel if we do that, our economy will actually turn itself around, and it'll be, things will get roaring again. So as I said, we must and we can all contact our elected officials through email, simply by going to Blackboard, like I had mentioned. You've all seen these people as your representatives. Those are your senators. So remember, they do work for us. They're there to represent you. They're there to make your life easier, better, not the other way around. It's up to all of us to voice our opinions, not just sit by the sidelines hoping for change. We're the ones that need to make that change. All of us can do this together, but you got to have a positive attitude. You can't just think, well, I don't want to do anything about it, and I'll let somebody else deal with it. We need to deal with it. So today we've learned how big a threat the federal deficit is, and we can all try and make a difference. I hope you'll all consider contacting your congressional members and voicing your opinions. So the only other thing I would tell you, it's time to tighten our belts for a long time. We can't just keep borrowing money, trying to just solve the problem by borrowing money from other countries and just trying to get our way out of this, or taxing corporations, because it's going to end up taking off to another country. That's pretty much it. Just contact your representatives, get it taken care of. Thank you.